Nnamdi Azikiwe, the first president of Nigeria. Nigerian nationalist, journalist and politician Nnamdi Azikiwe bravely fought for Nigeria's independence. He made history by becoming the country's first democratically elected president in 1963, the year that Nigeria became a federal republic. Sadly, the 1966 military coup brought an end to his presidency, which was distinguished by enormous advancements in the health and education sectors. For his unrelenting support for Nigerian nationalism, black pride and empowerment, he is usually acknowledged as one of the primary founding fathers of contemporary Nigeria. Welcome to the channel and thanks for watching. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of our videos. The main accomplishments and facts of Nnamdi Azikiwe, the person who worked to restore black men's pride and dignity, are covered in this video. Major accomplishments by Nnamdi Azikiwe. He was a columnist for a number of famous African-American newspapers. Nnamdi Azikiwe traveled to America to further studies under the influence of the renowned Ghanaian educator James Eman Kogeri Aggrey. He enrolled in Howard University in Washington, D.C. after completing a 2-year preparation course at Storer College in West Virginia. He earned a master's in religion from Pennsylvania's Lincoln University in 1932. In 1934, he obtained a second master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania. Prior to writing columns for renowned newspapers including the Baltimore Afro-American, Philadelphia Tribune, and Associated Negro Press, he temporarily held a graduate student instructor position at the university. He also adopted Marcus Garvey's political, social, and economic principles, sometimes known as Garveyism, during his tenure in the US. During British colonial rule, he fought violently to end discrimination. Azikiwe participated in campaigns to desegregate the Nigerian football leagues in addition to his many other accomplishments. Segregation based on race, ethnicity, and religion, in his opinion, was an insult to black people. He continued to lead the charge against those who intended to exploit sports to advance their evil political and ethnic agendas, even after Nigeria got independence in 1960. He founded Zik's Athletic Club, a football team, out of his desire for equality and fairness in athletics. People from all walks of life, religions, and ethnicities were welcomed at the club, where they could freely engage in the magnificent game of football. Even in 1942, the team won the Lagos League. In an effort to foster a sense of solidarity among the country's citizens, Azikiwe opened a number of other soccer facilities after those triumphs. According to certain African historians, the Nigerian national team, subsequently known as the Super Eagles, had its roots in Azikiwe's soccer team. Founding member of the African Morning Post. He struggled a lot to find a job he liked after arriving back in Nigeria in the early 1934s. He focused on Accra, Ghana. After failing to land a teaching position at Lagos King's College, he accepted Alfred Okensi's offer to become senior editor of the Ghanaian newspaper African Morning Post. He received high appreciation from his fellow journalists for his outstanding editing skills and unwavering professionalism, instilling in them a sense of black pride and Pan-Africanist ideals. He also took under his wing a number of journalists. He was a vocal supporter of African culture and philosophy. While at the newspaper, he used his nickname Zik in writing many of the articles in his very famous column, The Inside Stuff by Zik. Nnamdi Azikiwe blasted Africans in the upper class who were bent on maintaining the colonial mentality. He was quite dismayed at the unwillingness to criticize the manner in which African youths were indoctrinated into thinking Western culture superseded the various cultures in Africa. Those ideas, Zikism, of his would later culminate in his book titled Renaissance Africa. He also used the newspaper to caution against petty ethnic and tribal conflicts. In his book, he proposed 5 philosophical pillars that would underpin Africa's revitalization and growth. Those pillars are social regeneration, economic determinism, mental emancipation, spiritual balance, and risorgimento nationalism. Founded the West African Pilot. He returned to Lagos in 1937 following his exploits in Accra, Ghana. In order to support Nigeria's nationalistic ideas, he later founded the West African Pilot. He established a lot of such publications across the nations to advocate his Pan-Africanist ideals, since he was so frustrated with the colonial regime in the nation. His Zik group, which was in charge of the Southern Nigeria Defender, the Eastern Guardian, and the Nigerian Spokesman, eventually rose to prominence in the nation's journalism industry. These publications all became well known for their locally relevant stories. In the different women's sections of his newspapers, Azikiwe didn't hesitate to advocate for women's rights. Established the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC. Azikiwe's West African Pilot was criticized by some ethnic and political groups because of what they believed was his undue suppression of some political figures in the Yoruba community. His conflict with the Yoruba people, first arose when he was a member of the Nigerian youth movement and claimed that some of the group's members were too harsh on the Ijebu people. Soon after that, he and many other Ijebu members left the movement to start their own organization. In 1944, he established the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, with Herbert Macaulay's assistance. Later, he would act as the council's Secretary General. Leading member in Nigeria's struggle for independence. Following his successes in the newspaper Business in Nigeria, Azikiwe gradually started shifting from blunt criticism of the existing colonial to several political causes, including Nigeria's independence. He used the West African pilot to call on the immediate political independence of Nigeria and the entire African continent. He drew inspiration from what the likes of Mahatma Gandhi and his movement were doing in India. Azikiwe increasingly became fed up of Great Britain's management of the Nigerian economy, including the wage ceilings of the 1940s. He lobbied for more social and political reforms that allowed for Nigerians to participate more in governance. After achieving success in the Nigerian newspaper industry, Azikiwe began to gradually veer away from the outspoken opposition to the current colonial order and toward a number of political causes, amongst them Nigeria's independence. Nnamdi Azikiwe was at the forefront of the general strike in June 1945. As the world descended into chaos during World War II, several African countries had started growing very frustrated with colonial governments. In Nigeria, Azikiwe devoted considerable amount of time to the empowerment of the youth. He believed that reinforcing a sense of black pride and nationalism were the most potent ways of achieving Nigeria's independent aspiration. His usage of his newspapers in spreading the message was so effective that it got the Nigerian colonial government to ban a number of his newspapers in July 1945. He was forced to stay away from the public after rumors of possible assassinations of influential nationalists in the country. From then onward, Azikiwe would continue to push for self-government using whatever means possible, including boycotting foreign goods. Campaigned for increased power to the Regional House of Assemblies. Azikiwe vehemently opposed the colonial government's modification of the 1922 Clifford Constitution along with the rather violent group known as the National Youth Movement. With those measures, British Governor Arthur Richards hoped to increase the proportion of appointed Legislative Council members. Although it was meant to increase the number of Africans in the council, the NCNC members were very concerned about how those members would be chosen. Azikiwe believed that the British monarch and the colonial authority would receive the loyalty of those newly appointed council members. He worried that their presence would hinder efforts to secure Nigerian self-rule. Another bone of contention he had to deal with was the issue of Africans not given similar opportunities for advancement as their white counterparts in the colonial civil service. Azikiwe and the NCNC made plans for protests to be held in the United Kingdom in order to raise awareness to issues facing his country. After Herbert Macaulay passed away, Azikiwe assumed control of the party and led the delegation to London, where he met with the Labour Imperial Committee, the West African Students' Union and the Fabian Society's Colonial Bureau. He also supported the movement's fundraising efforts in America. Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of the US President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and himself also having a highly productive encounter. Premier of Nigeria's Eastern Region. In 1952, Azikiwe contested and won a Legislative Council seat in the Eastern Assembly. He contested the election under the banner of the National Democratic Party, a party affiliated to the NCNC. His colleagues in the Assembly elected him to the position of Chief Minister, and later he became Premier of Nigeria's Eastern Region in 1954. First President of Nigeria. Nigeria was able to become an independent republic within the Commonwealth of Nations on October 1, 1960, thanks to a valiant fight by Azikiwe and his allies in the various legislative assemblies. The Nigeria Independence Act was passed by the British Parliament after this accomplishment. He was named Governor General on November 16, 1960, and Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was named Prime Minister. Azikiwe also had the privilege of serving on the British Privy Council. In 1963, Nigerian parties in the various houses agreed to sever ties with the British Crown in response to intense public unrest. Nnamdi Azikiwe was subsequently chosen to serve as Nigeria's first president. Massive investments were made during his presidency in the nation's health and education systems. Sadly, the military coup of 1966 removed his administration from office, and John Agui Ironsi was installed as the new president. Several prominent Nigerian politicians, including Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa, perished in the ensuing political unrest, although Nnamdi Azikiwe was fortunate to survive. Azikiwe would live to a ripe old age of 91 before passing death on May 11, 1996 in Enugu after making 2 successful runs for president. In Onitsha, Nigeria, the illustrious Nigerian politician was laid to rest. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed our coverage of the biography of Nnamdi Azikiwe. Please like, comment and also share the video with your friends.